Welcome to PMDB 1515. PMDB videos available on YouTube and BitChute. In this video, I thought I would name my top 10 Survivor Series matches that I've seen. I've not watched every single Survivor Series. I've reviewed and watched 987 one. I own and watched the majority of the late 80s, all the 90s. Watched a lot of 2000s ones live on Sky. I've never seen 2008, never seen 2012. I've seen the last 5 or so Survivor Series pay-per-views, but there is ones I haven't seen at all, so I can't say this is an all-time list because there's matches I've never seen. But I thought I'd put a top 10 of what I have seen. So number 10, I'm going to go with the wrestler of the decade, Brock Lesnar, versus AJ Styles Survivor Series 2017 is my 10th placed match. Number 9, I'm going to go with one that's probably been forgotten about by a lot of wrestling fans. It's from Survivor Series 2000. I love this match. When I first watched it, featured a great exchange between Chris Benoit and K-Quick, now known as R-Truth. The Radicals versus Billy Gunn, K-Quick, Road Dogg, Chyna, and 4-on-4 traditional Survivor Series match. Probably one that's been forgotten about, but this is one of my favorite Survivor Series matches ever. Number 8th spot, I'm going to go with Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, Survivor Series 1996. This match gets overshadowed by the WrestleMania 13 Classic. It's not as good as the WrestleMania 13 Classic either, but still a top Survivor Series wrestling match. Number 7 was more about the moment than the match, but still a very solid match, and the moment adds to the match. I'm talking about the Montreal Screwjob, Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart, the rematch that was over a year in the making from WrestleMania 12. And when you think of Survivor Series, you think of this Montreal Screwjob that's been talked to death amongst the wrestling fans for over 20 years now. And the match itself is pretty solid before that blunt ending. Number 6th place, I'm going to go with the first ever wrestling match I ever seen. It featured Team Demolition versus Team Powers of Pain, whom had the Conquistadors on their side, Demolition side rather. On the Powers of Pain side featured some great teams at the time. The British Bulldogs, the Hart Foundation, it was Dynamite Kids, farewell WWF match at the time, the Rockers, the Young Stallions, so the opposite team, Demolition team had Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. Tully Blanchard, who was just excellent in this match. The Fabulous Rougeaus and the Bolsheviks. This was a gigantic 10 tag team on 10 tag team match. It was the first ever wrestling match I watched, and from the 1988 Survivor Series. And well, I fell in love with wrestling following it. So to me, this has to be in the top Survivor Series matches of all time. Number 5, I'm going to go with the Elimination Chamber, the original Elimination Chamber from 2002, which featured Shawn Michaels winning the World Heavyweight title. Spoilers. against Triple H, Kane, Booker T, RVD, and Chris Jericho. This was, I'm not sure if it's the best Elimination Chamber match ever, but it's certainly up there. It would certainly be in the top 3, top 2 Elimination Chamber matches of all time. Number 5 is another one from 2002 Survivor Series, which overall may be the best ever Survivor Series pay-per-view. But another outstanding matchup, and one that probably gets overlooked too. Los Guerreros, Eddie Guerrero and Chavo versus Edge and Kurt Angle versus versus Benoit and Angle versus Edge and Rey Mysterio. Friggin' outstanding. If I'm going to do a Dave Meltzer and you all 5 stars out of 5 stars triangle tag team matchup. Now in the top 3, and my third place is one of my favorite matches of all time. Diesel versus Bret the Hitman Hart from Survivor Series 1995. I remember watching this during the time and was just blown away at how good it was. Now, Diesel and Bret Hart had some solid matches throughout their feud. You know, they had a great match at the King of the Ring 1994 and Royal Rumble 95. This one's probably the best out of the 3 they had during 1994, 1995. And it's my top 3 Survivor Series and the best Survivor Series single match of all time, because my top 2 are traditional Survivor Series matches. The first one I'm going to talk about in second place was Team WWF versus Team WCW, ECW, the Alliance, led by Stone Cold Steve Austin, the greatest of all time, Kurt Angle, Booker T, Shane McMahon. I haven't watched these matches for a while, so my memory. RVD was participant number 5 on the Alliance team. They were up against The Rock, the Brothers of Destruction, The Undertaker and Kane, Chris Jericho, and The Big Show. And we got a wee one-on-one solo encounter between The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, the 2 biggest names in the Attitude Era. And Kurt Angle turned on the Alliance. The Rock got the win for the Team WWF. It was just, that whole show was fun. I enjoyed the 2001 Survivor Series show a lot. And the main event, like, you don't get main events like that anymore, where you have a team captained by Austin, a team captained by The Rock, and then the participants in the team featured, you know, The Undertaker, Kurt Angle, just a who's who, just fantastic matchup. But the traditional Survivor Series match that just beats it, in my opinion, is Team Austin versus Team Bischoff from the 2003 Survivor Series, another fun action-packed show. And Shawn Michaels, whom is on Team Austin, steals the show and has a great supporting cast of Chris Jericho helping him along the way. The Dudley Boys were also featured in this matchup. Scott Steiner, Booker T, RVD, and did I mention Scott Steiner? Anyways, this match turns into all about being about Shawn. Oh, Randy Orton's in this match too. How can I forget? But Shawn Michaels and JR commentating the will to survive as he's stomping his foot, getting ready for some sweet chin music, and it doesn't quite go Shawn's way or Austin's way, and Randy Orton ends up winning this whole thing in the greatest Survivor Series matchup ever. So my number one pick is Team Austin v Team Bischoff, and mostly down to Shawn Michaels. He just put on one of the greatest performances of his whole career. And it's my number one Survivor Series match ever that I've seen.